The reason they want you to be able to recover the cost of acquiring a customer in 1 year is just because of how much capital it costs to fund a new business. And if it takes millions and millions of dollars to get a company going, they really don't care if it can make money long term. They want you to be efficient and make money long term. So the two terms I introduced, CAC and LTV, let's talk about what it takes to do a good job of acquiring customers and how you can lower the cost of acquiring those customers using non-traditional techniques and taking advantage of all this disruption that's going on in the market today. So this is really a balancing act. If this is the center of this balancing act, everything on this side is associated with acquiring customers. Everything on this side is associated with getting money out of those customers. And the things that are in green here are ways to reduce the cost of acquiring a customer. Red are things that drive up the cost of acquiring that customer. And then the inverse, things that are green here drive up your ability to get money from your customer. And things that are red here impede your ability to get money from your customer. So if you think about the problem in this term, and then we go talk about how do we use these concepts so that you make this big and minimize this and this. That would be the objective of constructing a well-balanced business model. So if you've never worried about acquiring customers in the past, the single biggest cost that most companies, particularly traditional companies, have on a day-to-day basis is their sales expense. And normally, the cost of acquiring customers is based upon how complex your product is. So if you are General Electric selling a MRI machine to a hospital, that's a pretty high product complexity. And it most likely means that you need salespeople who go and knock on the door of the hospital and they try to convince the hospital administrator and they talk to all the doctors and they take them to dinner and they try to convince them that GE makes the best MRI machine in the world. And you need engineers who can go in and talk to the people who run the network inside the hospital to explain why your MRI machine is the best MRI machine in the world, because they're going to write you a check for $2.5 million when they decide to buy one. You really would not expect customers to make a purchase decision on an MRI machine by reading information on a website. However, there are plenty of products that information on a website might be the thing that sold it. Never had to talk to that person, never had to interact with them. They essentially sold themselves. So in today's world, the objective is to drive your sales expense as far down this curve as your product complexity will permit. For example, no-touch, self-service product sales is where it's at. That is the lowest cost of customer acquisition there is. And by the way, if you're trying to get money out of venture capitalists to start your company, this is what they are looking for today. Ways to disrupt traditional business models. Now, it also depends upon what you're selling, because I don't expect that you're going to be able to sell an MRI machine without ever talking to a customer. But you might be able to, sell a pair of shoes without ever talking to a customer. So whatever is appropriate for your product.